Good morning.
Good morning and welcome, everyone.
Today is November 21st, 2021. And our topic today is one that Bob originated, and it's what to do when you have no idea what to do. And so it's a good thing, I think, to talk about because, in this teaching, we teach lots of tools, and yet the hardest time to remember them. Tools to improve your life is what we teach, and yet in panic situations we often go, oh duh, what do I do? This is a calamity or an unexpected problem, or I just don't know what to do. So would you like to, we want to start with a prayer.
Why don't we?
Yeah, let's
we could all use a
prayer.
prayer.
Okay, I'm gonna give some of the answers in the prayer, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't give it all away.
Okay, so join with me in knowing the spiritual truth of our being, which is that we are all individualizations of the Creator. We are manifestations. We are it in miniature. And this it is what we call the beloved God, all that is. And it is everywhere present. It is in all of manifestation and yet not absorbed by that. And so as all of life meets its challenges and grows and expands, so too do we, even as immortal beings having a physical experience. So we know that there is no living thing that does not have challenges. And so challenges are what grow us. And today we discuss what tools we may use when we have challenges that leave us in a situation of not knowing what the best course forward is. We have tools, we use them, we know that they uplift us and all around us. And as we overcome our challenges, we are strengthened and matured. And more, we are more than we were before. So we give thanks even for our challenges. We give thanks for life and the opportunity to live it. We release, and together we say, and so it is.
And so it is. I don't think anything is more powerful than having a lesson that you're going to talk about and then losing everything that you have written down on paper so that you would do a really, really good lesson 10 minutes before it's time to do the talk. And so it's a good chance to review exactly what we're talking about, which is what do you do when you feel like it's just not possible, this can't happen. This is what I notice about myself anyway, and I'm sure this is probably unique to me, is that the sense of overwhelms my creativity, imagination, and realization that in fact it's not so. That is, I haven't worked from notes for years. Last night, we talked and we had notes.
Yesterday morning.
We had notes. And I was excited because I'm going to work from notes and I'll be organized. And then today.
And he asked for them.
Yeah, and I asked for them this morning and I had nothing but sheer panic that I had no notes. It didn't occur to me that I've never worked with notes, but I don't have notes.
I gave them to you this morning.
I don't want to talk about it.
And then you lost them.
Well, we have a thief who regularly comes in, opens jars, places them in places they don't belong, doesn't put lids on things, doesn't close. Anyway, you've all got one of them. We call them a poltergeist. And so, but the reality is my immediate reaction was panic, when in fact, often when our reaction is panic, it's a reaction that doesn't match the situation. And that is the situation itself. We can in fact work without notes. I worked without notes for the last however many years we've been doing this. And so, but that's the first thing. And so one of the first things that I think is practical, and one of the things that I actually made a note of yesterday was Byron Katie. And I love Byron Katie because one of the things that she says when you're confronted with a negative situation is it true?
Right, the story you're telling yourself about it, like, oh my God, where are my notes? I can't do a talk without my notes. So she would say, is that true?
And then what else does she say?
Well, I don't know. You're the one who wanted to talk about Byron Katie.
See, I don't have any notes. Okay, I had notes. Yeah. Is it true? Is it?
Are you sure it's true?
That's it.
Are you sure it's true?
Is it true for other people? You know, and
And then she has you turn it around,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
because your statement
And when you
about
turn it around,
what's awful.
it's Judith's fault. Oh, that's not, oh, that's not the turn
I
around.
didn't lose the no, but you
Okay,
did.
okay.
That was the
Okay, I thought there was a blame somewhere in that. So the typical strategy is something bad happened. I can't stand this. It's impossible. Oh my God, it's the end time. Secondly is the heck with it. I won't do anything ever again for the rest of my life. No exaggeration, of course. And then it's your fault. Anybody else ever have that happen to them? Probably not. But the truth is, if we were able to allow ourselves to connect with the greater who we are, everything is there. Everything is available that we need. And we forget that everything is available. And I think that we underestimate ourselves in an unspoken way. And then we always, or we often feel like we're living on an edge that we have created. There's actually no edge that we're on that we're going to fall off if things don't go perfectly. And so I see my drivenness, and I see other people that are driven often and are driven. And if you said, what'll happen if it doesn't happen? And they'll say, well, it's the end. You know, it isn't. And even if it were the end, it wouldn't be the end. It would be something after that end, because there's almost always credits that roll afterwards after the end. So the bottom line is that we react to, and the reaction often eclipses the possibility of utilize the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding that we actually have when we're calm and we give ourselves a chance to connect. You know, Judith is really very irritating to me because she said, just sit down. I can't sit down. You don't, where I'm in the middle of worry. And she said, just sit down. It'll be okay. And it's not going to be okay. And you don't understand. It is the apocalypse. And she, no, it's not. So, you know, if you got a voice like that in the background, it's good. If you don't have one, you have to develop one, because when we're in a bad situation, we're in an impossible situation, that's just a perspective. It isn't and so. And even if it were so, there's still ways in which we can view it, we can participate, we can be in the situation and have it be something we can manage.
Right. So one of the first steps that I recommend, that I use for myself too, is when I don't know what to do, I'm saying with my rational mind, I'm with my brilliant mind, I can't figure out what's the best thing to do. So I get out of my rational mind and just go into the quiet and into a meditative state, and perhaps even meditate with a question in mind about what's the best thing to do here. But you just to be quiet and listen. You know, that's what meditation is for me, is being quiet and listening, because that's the spiritual path, is knowing that we don't have all the answers with our brilliant minds or our less than brilliant minds. We get answers from spirit that help us if we can calm down enough and be quiet enough to listen.
To not be reactive. and the real dilemma is that we're reactive, or often before we choose an action, we react to, and react doesn't utilize the same skills and tools. I'm reminded of an old cartoon I saw years ago, and you see this martial arts special master, and he's dressed in his martial arts and everything, and equipped, and he walks as a martial artist because he's been doing a martial artist forever, and he walks out, and on the walk out, somebody stands there and says, this is a robbery, give me your wallet. And he doesn't have any years and years, and he has many years and years of martial skills. Will he Aikido? Will he karate? What will he do? He punches the guy in the face. And the reason he punches the guy in the face is because he is reactive and active. The reactive, this is what I learned when I was little. This is what I learned before I learned martial arts. And what is interesting, a disciplined, skilled, talented person who has a way of doing things, once scared, forgets everything he knows and automatically goes back to the most primitive part of our own being. And I think why that's important to really mention it today on a Sunday is that divine mind doesn't pale by comparison to your fear. It just becomes invisible to your fear. Divine mind is capable and strong and powerful and capable working through you and all of the time until you close the doors, windows, close your eyes, hide under a blanket and say, where is spirit?
Right, exactly. And so after you're quiet and go within and see if you get ideas, and generally you will. If you're not doing this, oh my God, I'm so scared, I don't know what to do. If you're not doing that conversation, if you can really be quiet, your inner voice, call it the chattering monkey mind, uh, you often will get ideas. And if you do not, the next step then would be in visualizing what you think would be the best possible outcome. Actually think about, well, what would that look like? And what would it feel like? And what would I look like? And visualize it all. We teach a step process of affirmative prayer that has you stating that you know it all comes from God, state exactly what you'd like as if it's already happened, and give thanks for it and release. So we call it affirmative prayer because you're not begging God to please, please give me what I want. You're stating, this is what I want. This is what I see. Thank you, because I know that it is the Father's good pleasure to give to me the kingdom and all things added unto it. So, and then you let that go and try to quit worrying. So those are the spiritual tools. But I think one of the biggest problems that I'm going on to another thing here. I don't want to cut you off. Is we have to get out of the ain't it awful and why is this happening to me? You know, a favorite saying that I used to have before I came into this spiritual understanding was, why me, God? I'm a good person. What did I ever do to deserve this? Well, we believe that you are where you are by right of consciousness, which means you do deserve it by right of consciousness. But so your consciousness may not be developed enough to not be in fear, to not attract disasters and lacks. Although, you know, none of us get out of this life alive. On this plane, we get out alive on another plane, which is even better. But in other words, we have things happen to us that some people say, ain't it awful? I would like to share with you something that I got from, where did I get this?
Whatever.
Wherever. Okay. Oh, Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. He says, being a victim to the problems or challenges in our life doesn't bring solutions. That's because we're reaching to the circumstances with familiar emotions and thoughts, which are at a certain level of awareness, a pretty low one, I'm adding, and a certain level of consciousness or unconsciousness. Elevating our emotional state to gratitude could cause us to become aware of a solution from a greater level of consciousness than the consciousness which created the problem. No organism evolves in nature without a challenge in its environment. I want to repeat that. No organism evolves in nature without a challenge to its environment. So why should we?
Yeah.
So he says, so when we overcome the challenge, the outcome is wisdom. And that's what we're here for. So nobody escapes challenges and situations where they don't know what to do.
Yeah, and I think we think somehow having a challenge is a burden rather than an opportunity. And because we see it as a burden, we call it hard work. We call it suffering.
We call it ain't it awful.
Yeah, and I have to share it because recently when I was in the hospital and I wasn't sure whether I had a heart attack or what was happening and what it looked like. And I'm laying there in the bed thinking, why are you afraid? And I thought, I'm not afraid of dying, but why am I afraid? And I realized I was afraid of having to come back, having to be toilet trained again, having to go to school, having the teacher call on me and I don't have the answer, having to do sixth grade again. And I thought, I don't care if I die. Is there any way I could not have to come back? Or could I like do a GED for life, you know?
But if next time won't be the same experience.
I know, but the bottom line is we have these crazy, absurd fears that are operating in the background that are moving. See, if I hadn't addressed it, it would be like, you're afraid, maybe you're afraid of death. I'm not afraid of dying because, you know, I'm prepared as I can be for that. I mean, I have a pretty high FICO score, so I think I'm good. And once I get there, I'll be okay. But I think there's all kinds of fears that when they get activated, immobilize us. And then we catastrophize and we lose connection with that spiritual connection, that spiritual knowing that there is with us. So one of the things that's really, really important for us is to practice gratitude. Practice
Exactly.
gratitude, practice gratitude. I mean, you can do it all day. You can do it at night before you go to bed. You can do it in the morning. And the reason that you need to practice is not just to be grateful and to live a life of grateful, but as soon as you're panicked, you need to be able to have gratitude be an automatic response rather than fear.
Mhm.
And so the things that, I remember when I was in the Army, and it wasn't one of my favorite experiences, and practicing and practicing and practicing defending myself against an enemy. And I said, first off, I'm a medic, I probably won't have any. And they said, you need to practice so that it's an automatic response when there's an attack. Now, the automatic response, they were asking me to be able to load my gun and shoot somebody. But what the automatic response we're asking you is to develop an automatic gratitude, load yourself with gratitude,
Mhm.
and be able to know that you can not only thrive, but in fact, you're not going to die from it. And if you do die from it, you'll be on the other side and you'll be taken care of.
That's good, Bobby. And sometimes, the solution, you end up with a better situation than before you had the
Isn't that
problem.
truth?
And I was made aware of this farm in Colorado. It's near Boulder, Colorado, which is one of my favorite places in the country. It's a very progressive
Yeah.
city.
And a place with no drugs, which is good.
And Byron Komenek's family farm, he was having trouble turning a profit. Farming can be a difficult profession to turn a profit. And so he had an idea. He says, what if solar panels and farming could coexist and even benefit each other? Now, he said he couldn't have done it without the county that Boulder is in and the power company and everybody coming together to agree. But he put in something like, he put in 3,200 solar panels, 8 feet above the field. And he discovered that the shade from the panels helped the plants thrive. It also meant less evaporation of irrigation water. And the panels remained cool, making them more efficient. So veggies and solar power generating together. Wow, that is amazing. And he now provides energy to 300 homes and businesses around, as well as having a successful farm.
Uses less water.
So see, the problem was he wasn't generating profit. And he comes up with an idea. He wouldn't have had the idea if he were profitable, if the farm were profitable. But because of the need, he had to come up with a good idea, and he did. And now it's generating it's called Jack's Solar Farm now. Jack was his grandfather that was responsible for them coming there. And so it's Jack's Solar Garden. Jack's Solar Garden now. And they are going to be moving the concept into Denver, and the Denver Botanical Garden and one other place in Denver. So it's an idea that can spread to other communities.
A good example of that is Volkswagen was in trouble with having deceived the public with finding a way to circumvent the pollution on their cars. So they got a real black eye because they basically lied and were helping pollute. They've now committed, not just in word, but in deed, billions of dollars to build new factories, to build their image with electric cars, to build electric cars. Now, this electric car is not in and of itself the solution, but it's a direction of the solution. It's a direction toward the solution. But more importantly than that, it didn't happen because they said, we'd like to spend a few $1 billion converting our entire automobile line to electric. Well, we've already got engines that work well. No, the next generation, and I think we're at a crossing moment right now. We're going from gasoline to electric, but I think there'll be another generation after that. There has to be steps we take.
Flying cars?
Well, I mean, the fuel,
Yeah.
but the steps that we're taking to respond to the crisis that we're meeting are all positive. And you could say the crisis generator, you could say it's a divine intervention. We've taken away all of the toys that you've normally used and said, these are the few that are left, try to find a way to play with those. And suddenly, all of a sudden, because human beings are extraordinarily creative, they said, well, maybe we can do this. And so it's another example, but I think the less time we spend lamenting and building our list of what's wrong and being sacrificed. And the more time we spent saying, I'm grateful for what I have, and I'm grateful for the greater resources that are available to me that I haven't yet tapped.
Yes, exactly. And Ernest Holmes has a quote. Oops, is that it? Yes, that's Ernest Holmes. He says, "We do not earn our immortality. It is a gift from God. But we do have to earn the ability to experience and enjoy it. This is a gift we shall have to make to ourselves. This world and the next are but two parts of one journey, which can, if we permit it, be filled with hope and joy." I thought that was appropriate now with Thanksgiving coming up, because it is a time to think about what we're grateful for. I'm grateful we can get together with family this year, and we are going to do that. We're flying out to California tomorrow to be with family, and it'll be a nice big family reunion, my family anyway.
You know, today we were challenged with, I was challenged with not having the notes that I wanted, because there were some things that I wanted to say that I probably won't or haven't said. We were challenged with getting the computer working properly with the background that we wanted. We were challenged with getting everything working right. And so those are all challenges, are all problems. These are all difficulties. So is it really worth it to do Sundays? And except 5 minutes before the service started, one of our members wanted to take time out to appreciate us and to appreciate this meeting and to appreciate what we do. And how many people get that kind of appreciation? I think it's directly responded to the willingness to accept the challenge of living. And when you become willing to demonstrate living at any cost, at an all costs, because it's worth doing, the feedback you get from the universe and the people that are in your lives are going to be, thank you, we appreciate it. We have to jump in both feet. And I remember the guy that jumped off the top of a building or fell off the top of a building, and some people heard him as he hit 26 voices. So far, so good. You know, so I don't know how long this fall is from.
As he passed the 23rd
Yeah,
floor.
as he passes, so far, so good. So I don't know how long, but I think it would be a good idea for us to say, so far, so good.
Yeah.
And stop measuring the distance from where we are to the bottom, but measure the distance that we've gained and the experience we've had, and count all of that and say, wow. You know, and I know one of the things that I did want to say is that dealing with the impossible, if things were as possible as we say, we think often in our minds, we wouldn't be here, because you see the odds of the sperm and that particular egg on that particular day, evening or night, in the back of a car, motel, or wherever you live, couldn't happen. The odds are against it. I mean,
Very against it.
yeah, and there's so much against it. If you took all of the time people spend in intimate moments and compare that to the number of children we actually have on the planet, I mean, my God, it looks like we're almost a failure. So it's already impossible, but it's not. And we have to not have that impossible consciousness. Creation literally exists as a kind of miracle that we can't explain, because it's bigger, greater, and more amazing than we ever could have conceived of. No pun intended.
Indeed, indeed. And so I think that pretty much wraps up what we wanted to say.
I think so. And you know what I'm excited about is that I know that as soon as we're off the air, I will find those notes.
You will.
Yeah.
You'll have another talk.
And I think probably Judith has them somewhere.
So let's close with a prayer.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay. So do you want to join me for this?
Sure. So what I know right here, I'll start. So what I know is that there's no such thing as catastrophe. There's no such thing as the end. There's just continuous and amazing beginnings in the maturing of the experience of allowing ourselves to embrace each beginning, to mature into each beginning, to know at depth from the heart that we have our lives experience, that we are up to, capable of, and so much more, dealing with each and every situation and circumstances that we are faced with. We came here fully equipped, no matter how bad or difficult or desperate we may seem. We came here fully prepared. We will in fact thrive. And we may not thrive in the condition we think we're going to thrive, but we are going to thrive. So today we allow ourselves to set down the idea that it has to go one way versus another. We set down the idea that there's limitation, that there's a reason for not having success. We set down the story of failure, impossibility, worry, and fear. we set back all of those things, set them down and set fire to them and watch them be ignited. And we enjoy the warmth that they give us as they disappear from our lives. And we know that this is true. And we know that we are so much more than that. And after the fire is quieted, the smoke is gone, there is us face to face with the divine, with the light, with the joy, and with the infinite. For this, we are so very grateful. And we say thank you. And so it is.
Wow, Bob, that was powerful.
I gotta have more heart attacks.
So we're glad you joined us this morning, and we're going to share next, we're going to share our page inviting you to support this ministry. Let's see, so we'll stop recording first, right? Or no, we'll go ahead and do the share. I think we hadn't done this before.
Yeah. I think we lost our music too.
Oh dear, I have to find that. So for those of you who would like to support this ministry, and I know that most of you do this on an ongoing basis.
Every time we do this, we're preaching to the choir.
I know.
But I want the choir to know.
And it is recorded and it does
Yeah.
go out to other
I
people.
want the choir to know, and for those of you that do sing with the financial support of our center, we hear the music. You've created a symphony, and what you're creating in your donations is the opportunity for us to thrive, to be our best, to show our best, to share our best, and for you to be your best and be a part of this family and to acknowledge it. And so we really appreciate every bit of effort, energy, money, support that you give us.
We sure do. And so this is our address, our website, cslpalmbeaches.org. And if you go there, you click on this button, ways to donate, this pops up and shows you how you can donate. Also, next week, because we're going to be traveling by air on Sunday, our talk should be posted on our YouTube channel. And that YouTube channel is the same name, CSL Palm Beaches, but without the .org. So we will create that on Saturday and post it, hopefully, if everything goes well. And that's where you can.
And if it doesn't happen for some reason, please just talk to each other.
Okay, so now I lost the music, did I?
Yeah. Let's go on the end of recording.
Okay.